Welcome to Sparks to Fire. I'm Jeff Hicks, and today I'm talking with Mary Kennedy. Mary Kennedy is a transformational breathing facilitator and a coach. She's been doing this stuff for 18 years, and it was pretty obvious when I went to her studio. She gifted me with a session. Transformational breathing. It really moved energy for me, and so I decided to interview Mary and find out more so that I could share with you just what I learned and about what she's learned over her 18 years doing this stuff. About halfway through, there's a key. Mary talks about what breathing in this way really allows you to do. And I explained how I had an experience doing it in my own way, and how I kind of did something funny as soon as I had done it. So look for that. Do you like this? Like us on Facebook. You want to stay in contact with Sparks to Fire? Sign up for our email newsletter. I send it out about once a week. I won't sell or give away your information to anybody. I'll just send you information when I post a video or when I've got some special stuff coming up. And I do because I'm working hard right now on a workshop, a series of videos and exercises and things, some of it free, that I'm going to be giving away. So you're going to want to keep in touch with me. Sign up for that email list over there on the right there. Mary Kennedy, Transformational Breathing, here on Sparks to Fire. Mary Kennedy, welcome to Sparks to Fire.
Thanks, Jeff. I appreciate it.
You are a transformational breathing facilitator and coach.
Yes.
Transformational breathing. What are we transforming?
We are hopefully transforming suppressed emotional content, suppressed negative thinking, things that hold us from being the people that we want to be, the potential that we have in our lives.
Now, how does transformational breathing work?
How does it work? Okay.
Yeah. Like, we'll start with what happens when someone comes to you for a session. What happens in a session?
So what happens is that I first describe to them what transformational breath is.
Mm-hmm.
And so do you want me to go ahead and describe a little bit about this?
Sure, please do.
Okay. So it's called conscious connected breathing, integrative breathing, and it's a very powerful self-healing modality. So this is you're doing this with your own breath. The breath is like a high octane fuel. It's prana, it's chi, it's a high frequency. And so what we're doing is we're breathing in and out through an open mouth without pause between the inhale and the exhale. And so we're actually literally bringing our frequency up to a higher level. And so as we're vibrating at a higher level, these emotional suppressions and content like sadness or anger or fear are a denser frequency. And so through entrainment, which means that the denser frequency is attracted to a higher frequency, those suppressed materials are hopefully integrated up and out with the breath, actually. It's kind of difficult to describe transformational breathing because it is so different for each person, the experience, and with each session it's different. Because any holistic healing will be dealing with levels, like layers of the onion skin. So your first session, you may experience complete bliss and a most profound feeling of relaxation and peace. And the next session, you may tap into a little sadness on your way to that bliss, or you may tap into a little anger on your way to that bliss, because right on the other side of that sadness or anger is the joy. And I think that we could all use a little more of that in our lives.
I agree. Well, you were kind enough to give me a session. And I'll just describe basically what it was from my point of view. I came into to your therapy room there, and I sat there and talked for a bit. I sat back, and I breathed. And I was thinking about that no pause thing. That actually worried me a little bit because I always thought there was a pause before or between each breath. But that actually came a whole lot easier than what I thought it would.
Yeah.
And then I was just breathing. And I listened to, is it Judith Kravitz? Is that correct?
Judith Kravitz was the founder of Transformational Breath.
She mentioned that that I might feel a little anxious about breathing so much. And I do remember that. But it did pass. And then the breath just took over, and I was there, and there was breathing happening, but it was no longer conscious. It was just happening. It was, but it's interesting. Now, how does it work? I mean, I'm just sitting there breathing. That's really all I'm doing. Yeah, you touch some places on my chest. We did some time where you put some compression against my hands, but that's it. Why did I feel some things let go just by breathing and those touches?
So the beauty of this is that it is a somatic experience or a body-centered experience. You're not thinking your way through this. A lot of times people, when they find out, oh my gosh, I'm going to be breathing for 45 minutes, no way.
Right.
And it's like I said to you, and like you just said, the breath begins to breathe you, because as our ego starts to slip away and our thinking mind, chitter chatter because it's not a thinking thing, it's an experiential body process. And so what happens is you go into an altered state and become more connected to your higher consciousness. It is truly an experience of the mind-body connection. You just take the thinking out of it, and you allow your breath and your body to experience. It's like you breathe and surrender. Easy, right? Easy to say.
Easy to say.
And so what
right.
my job is to be there and I do some body work. This is the beauty of this particular breath work, is that I interact with the client. I do some pressure points where I see that the breath needs to go to, or where the breath is not going, or perhaps where you're stuck in a certain pattern. What we do with transformational breath work is we have full diaphragmatic breathing. It's not just chest breathing. Because in our culture, how many of us are just breathing up here and we can't get it any lower? And so we start with breathing in the belly. And as the session goes on, we're opening the diaphragm and breathing up to the solar plexus and then up to the heart. And different parts in the body are held different emotional content. For instance, in the belly, which is where, if you're breathing in the belly, you're more grounded, right? That makes sense, doesn't it?
Sure.
You learn that in martial arts, you learn that in yoga. However, in that area, we have feelings of insecurity or, abuse issues or family stuff and feelings of being really insecure. So you start breathing into that area, and perhaps you're going to activate some of those suppressed emotional content. Now, once again, on the other side of that is your joy. So as you're breathing, you may tap into some of those feelings, and you don't have to have a memory of an event at all during this. There is no requirement to have a memory of an event. You just want that emotional content to move through, and your breath moves it through. So people are always really surprised if they start to feel some emotional content, some sadness. They may feel it intensely for a brief period of time, and then the breath just moves it right on through. We also do this with some toning. We use toning, some sound, some body movement, because that also helps to move things through. And what I do is I look at the way the breathing is happening in the body, because it is a metaphor for how what's happening in our lives. For instance, if you're not breathing in your belly, chances are you're not real grounded. If you're not breathing in your chest at all, chances are you would want to live more from your heart. So bringing more breath into your chest will will open up that heart center. But it also, on the other side of that, may have some sadness come through. So you want to go through the sadness so that you open to the joy, right? And
Certainly. And just to
yeah,
back up a bit,
yeah,
I have done some energy work, and it was a very effective mover of energy through me.
yeah, yeah,
At the end of the experience, I don't want to give it all away, but I was all wobbly legged walking to the car.
yeah.
It was as blissful as I get in energy work. Um, you mentioned the breathing being a metaphor for how we live our lives.
Right.
I noticed that especially on my exhale, there were some catches, and they were down low, and
Uh-huh.
if you'd asked me, do I breathe fully, and is there any raggedness or any inconsistency in my breath in and out, I would have said absolutely not. But at about 10 minutes in or so, I noticed there was. Can you tell me about that? How does that work?
So as you're breathing, it's as if the inconsistencies or the patterns, the emotional patterns, come up and are reflected in the breath. So you may start out being really conscious of how you're breathing, but then as your ego starts to slip away and it's just about your body and the breath, those patterns will come up. And so on your exhale, um, occasionally there was a holding on to the exhale. Does this make sense? A holding on to the
Sure.
exhale, especially in the throat. And, Jeff, I know that in your life you're entering this whole new world with this incredible thing that you're doing with the webcams and interviewing people. You're stepping out there. And so when you look at the breath as a metaphor and letting go, your exhale is about letting go. And, if in your throat you're kind of holding on to that exhale just a little bit, there may be a little fear, because this is expression, a little bit of fear on letting go. And so I work with people in being able to surrender. And isn't that what it's all about in this life? Surrender to receive. And that's not so easy sometimes. So just in working with the breath and the exhale and surrendering, letting that go easily. There's a lot of work I do with that with people, especially in these days when they're so stressed out. No jobs, no this, no that, not enough breath, not enough money, not enough love, not enough time, So that's why when we have a full breath happening, you have a fuller life. You have a flow happening with your breath and your life.
Just a quick aside on the letting go. I did an experience with someone who said, "Okay, take a pen and hold it out in front of you, and let it go, and just to feel that letting go."
Yeah.
And I didn't have too much trouble with that.
Uh-huh.
I was in a room of about 20 or 30 people.
Uh-huh.
But then I immediately picked that pen right back up. It was hilarious. And of course, then, so I'm sure that with my breath, yeah, I did let it go. Another thing I noticed, though, was at about 3/4 of the way through, I noticed I could take huge breaths, much bigger than I ever imagined possible. And it was like, am I going to be able to get more in, get more in, get more in? Yeah, it just kept coming. And that was very interesting. Now, in transformational breathwork, you talk about 3 levels. Could you
Right.
tell us about those and what is achieved in each?
Yes. So there's the physical, the emotional and mental, and then the spiritual. So the physical level, well, obviously you're getting way more oxygen.
Right.
And at this altitude, if we're not breathing, wow, can you imagine? And also, 75% of your toxins leave your body through the exhale. So that's speaking a lot to detoxing the body. There are a lot of disease states that have a difficult time existing in our body with a hyper-oxygenated state, with a lot of oxygen. So you see oxygen therapies out there, right?
Hmm.
So this
We
is a
do.
way to do it with your own breath. So from a physical standpoint, good news, lots of energy and oxygen. From an emotional and mental standpoint, you're integrating emotional content that, hey, it doesn't support you. It doesn't support where you want to go in your life. And as a result of integrating that, you are open to your spiritual connection, your presence. It really helps with presence. Yeah.
Hmm.
It for me, when I first started doing transformational breath work about 18 years ago, what happened for me was that I was in a very dramatic situation. I was scared to death. I was paralyzed by fear, couldn't move, and it was just by accident that I stumbled upon breath work. And what it did for me was it pulled me out of my drama, my story, and gave me an opportunity to be an observer in my life,
Hmm.
which is the most powerful thing. And I was able to move in my life and make changes as a result.
So, are you seeing any difference in the type of people or in their presence from when you started 18 years ago and the people that you're seeing now?
Well, I've seen an evolution in people. I see a lot of men coming for spiritual work. I see a lot of kids, parents bringing teenagers for spiritual work. It's
Hmm.
really pretty cool.
Yeah.
I see a lot of people really, really stressed and getting fed up and tired of working corporate lives that no longer fulfills them. I see people changing a lot, and a lot of my clients are in this place of wanting to step out, like you are, for instance, and doing work from their heart. But then they get into the conflict, the fear of, oh my gosh, well, how am I going to pay myself? Well, how am I going to let go of the paycheck? How am I going to let go of health insurance? And so they get into the fear of that, and this is a beautiful thing to help them step through that, to see the possibility, to see, just an expanded point of view, so that they have the courage to step out and live from their heart. It's really cool. I'm sure that you're seeing a lot of that too.
I am. I am.
Yeah.
You know, in Denver, we recently had the metaphysical fair,
Yes.
and I've only been a couple of times now, but it is dominated with women, women who know that the heart is important. And but in speaking with folks there, they are seeing more men there as well.
Yes.
I think that is extremely important. That. Men who are conflicted, who are in that place, who don't think they have a choice, uh, are able to do as you mentioned, become an observer, step back just a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
and see that there are possibilities beyond what might seem possible right now. So, what other types of things do people come to you to hope that they can heal or clear or change in their lives?
I'm working with the drug and alcohol rehab community. So
Really?
once again, physical detox right there, a beautiful thing, getting plenty of oxygen into those bodies. And people who are newly recovering have a difficult time sometimes grasping the idea of a higher power. which
Hmm.
in 12-step programs is sort of a requirement. And so breath work puts them right there. You don't have to name it. You feel it. It's like you get it. So those folks, it's great.
Huh.
And
And
kids.
and the kids?
Yeah, and teenagers I've worked with, younger kids, teenagers, um, yeah, equestrians also, people who horseback ride, people who do therapy with horses. That's really fun too, because the horses, as I was told, really appreciate it when we breathe because they can feel, they're very aware when we aren't breathing if we're riding them. Very aware.
Ah,
Yeah,
interesting. So they
yeah.
feel more comfortable if we are
Oh
more
yeah.
comfortable.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah, if we're all tensed up,
Oh yeah.
they're going to be
Not a good
tensed. Hmm.
thing.
So I know that you do one-on-one sessions, and
Yes,
you offer a group once a month. Is that
I do.
correct?
Yes, it is.
Now, does transformational breathing does it allow it for self-help? Is it where someone can do it on their own as well?
Yeah, that would be the goal. Um, Usually it takes people about 5 or 6 times before they can go beyond 20 minutes on their own. And that is because with facilitation, you can work through your blocks, your emotional, stuff enough so that when you start to breathe on your own, you don't just go to sleep. So this is what
Hmm.
happens sometimes when people need some more facilitation is, they'll start doing breath work on their own, and in 5 minutes they're either asleep or they have to go, oh my gosh, I guess it's time to water the plants. Like
Oh.
with meditation, same thing. It's like with meditation. Oh my God, I think I have to go check the whatever. The mind gets in there and pulls you away. It's a distraction.
Okay.
So once you have some facilitation, you're more comfortable going to 20 minutes. And yeah, it's a wonderful addition to daily or weekly doing this on your own. Absolutely.
Now, so how will I know if I'm doing it right? Now, I will have done it right through facilitation a few times, but
Uh-huh.
yeah, how do I know if I'm doing it right?
Yeah, let's see. You don't go to sleep.
Okay.
Mm, You may, on occasion, you'll get clarity on situations. You'll have maybe some vision, maybe some insight, and quite definitely that connection to your higher self, pulling out of the drama of a situation. Like a lot of times what I say to my clients is if you'll just do 5 minutes, which is 100 breaths of breathing in the morning, before you go to work, before you go to your day, set an intention, like I'm going to breathe for joy or I'm going to breathe for clarity. Set that intention and just breathe for 5 minutes. Put on some music and see if you can breathe for 5 minutes. It will change your day.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, you've got an event coming up in Denver. That's in November. Is that correct? And
Yes, it is in November.
the presence of breath. Is that correct?
Yes, presence of breath.
Tell us about that.
So there is a man who wrote a book called The Presence Process, Michael Brown. Should I show it? Should I show the
Oh,
cover?
please, sure.
Okay, here's the cover. The
Hmm.
Presence Process by Michael Brown. Let's see this way.
Okay.
It's a remarkable process. I myself am working on it for the third time now because I'm a slow learner.
Hmm.
And Michael Brown incorporates some breath work into this process because as you bring up emotional content, clearing it with the breath is very important. And he has sort of teamed up with Judith Kravitz of the Transformational Breathwork, and Judith did a foreword in his book. But the presence of breath is using some of his material and incorporating it into transformational breath work. So it's a 3-day seminar. It's incredibly powerful. It's wonderful. A man named Christian is coming from California to facilitate this. I will be there as a facilitator, and two other folks, Leah and Natalie in Denver, will also be there. We're not sure, we don't have a location yet, so please stay tuned to my website, or
Yep,
if you
and we will have the link to your website and
yeah,
your contact information in the show
yep,
notes.
yep.
So, what kind of things what speaks to you about the presence process? Why have you gone through it 3 times?
Yeah.
What does it offer for you, and what do you see in it?
I'm a slow learner. The first time when I started it, I thought, okay, my perfectionist self is going, okay, you have to do this perfectly. You have to, and then I just went, okay, forget it. If I try to do it perfectly, I will not do it. So I just kind of went through it and had amazing things happen, because it is taking transformational breath work and going deeper, using it's another tool. It's another
Okay.
tool. And it it really helps me, and the intention is to help people to unhook from your drama, your story, from going from reacting to things to responding to things. Now, wouldn't that be nice?
Hmm.
So say a messenger or somebody, meaning somebody shows up in your life that really upsets the you know what out of you, and you're going, oh my gosh, that was such a knee-jerk reaction, so deep, what is this about? So being able to move from that kind of reaction into a just a response, to be able to unhook from our patterns, our dramas from when we were children, which is really where it all starts, right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. So, well, that's good. Now,
Freedom.
so Mary Kennedy, I have tipped you off. I'm going to ask you this question, and I
Okay.
ask it of each of our guests here at Sparks to
Yeah.
Fire, and that is, give our viewers, this community, one thing that they can do right now that they can make a shift in their life.
Okay.
What is it, Mary?
Because of what I do, I would say becoming aware of where your breath is, on during your day. If you're sitting at your computer, where is your breath? Are you breathing deeply? And just the awareness of where your breath is, and being able to move the emotion through by using your breath. So what I would tell them is to just sit quietly, even if you do it in the morning, even if you do it through an open mouth or through your nose, to put one hand on your belly and one hand on your heart, and bring a deep breath, and have your hand on your belly rise, and then have your hand on your heart rise. So when you take a deep breath, the one on the belly rises, and then the other one rises as in a wave. So
Okay.
you're enacting your entire diaphragm in your chest,
Mm-hmm.
and just see how that emotion, just see how good you feel. Just the awareness, breath awareness.
It's something I have been working on, and
Yeah.
it is very important. So I urge our viewers to do that. One hand on the heart, one hand on the belly. Breathe and become aware of where your breath is. And then once you've gotten
Yeah.
aware of that, you'll notice some other stuff too, because Mary's right. You will. So, Mary, you have in Denver, you have a monthly group where people
In
come.
Lafayette.
Oh, in Lafayette,
Lafayette. Mm-hmm.
and where people come and you facilitate in a group setting the breathing,
Yes.
so they can get the practice and so they can learn how to do it. Is that correct?
Yes.
And you have the Presence of Breath seminar, and you also do individual coaching,
Yes.
and you do a couple other things too. What are they?
I am an animal massage provider. I do energy work and massage mostly on canines, some horses, goats. I
Goats.
love the goats. Um, and I teach classes in canine massage through Front Range Community College, and energy work and animal communication. I teach that at Front Range Community College too.
Oh,
It's
wow.
so much fun. Working with animals is like breath work. It's really connected.
Is it?
It is.
Wow. Well, Mary Kennedy, transformational breathing and a whole lot more. Your website is inthepresenceofanimals.com. We will
Yes.
put the information about your event and how to reach you in the show notes below. I'd like to thank you very much for being here on Sparks to Fire.
I want to thank you, Jeff, for what you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Can you breathe in and out? Can you let go, even if it's just for a little while? I think you can. My transformational breathwork session, there wasn't a whole lot of belief or something I had to understand. It was just breathing in and out, feeling that energy flow. And at the end, I had that good, blissful feeling that I feel when I have a good energy session. And I slept really well that night. And that leads me to know that stuff was processing. And that's how I know things are working well for me. Did you like this interview? Have you got questions? Is there an interview that you'd like to see? Put a comment in the comment section below. Did you like it? Give us a like on Facebook. Want to stay in touch? Sign up for the email list over there. I send out an email about once a week telling you just what interview has happened for the week and what I got coming up. And I do have some important stuff coming up. I'm working hard on a series of videos and some tools that'll help you make a shift in your life. I want to let you know about it, so please sign up for the email list so I can send that information to you when it's ready. Do you feel a spark? Let's turn that spark to your fire, because that's why I am here on Sparks to Fire.